He is none other than Trent Dilfer here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Trent?
Rich, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Of course. So, Kyler Murray in Arizona. That's everybody just assumes it's going to happen because not only do they share an agent, but we know Kingsbury's loved Murray for a long time, and it's a fit for the offense he wants to bring to the NFL. Do you agree on all that front?
I do. I really do. I think so much of this conversation around quarterbacks every year comes down to fit. And sometimes there's just those unique situations where a coach and a player philosophically, their systems, everything fit. And I think Cliff is going to have a hard transition into the NFL in terms of pass protection, the run game. And he's going to need a quarterback that can extend plays, that can create space, where they can have some college flair in the run game while they adapt to kind of a more hard-nosed NFL-style run game. So, yeah, I think that fits perfectly. And that's not an indictment on Josh Rosen. I think Josh Rosen's a starter in this league for many years. But, again, this conversation is always more about fit than it is talent. And that's the lie that the fan hears all the time is that it's talent, when really it's fit.
So, in terms of his talent, the fact, again, that I was at a combine this year for the first time, hearing how somebody who measures in at 5'10" and an eighth checks a box in a positive manner. Trent, do you have any concerns about him going to the next level at that height?
Rich, I don't have any easy answers. It's a huge conversation. It's one that needs to be talked about more. I did a couple things this fall during the season talking about how for years now we've seen at the grassroots level changing, what the modern quarterback looks like, what the modern quarterback throws like, what the modern quarterback's pedigree is like, what the modern offenses look like, and how that relates to how the modern quarterback can thrive. And what we've learned is that the position has become much less about power and stature and more about twitch and precision. And I can dive really deep into this, or we can just cover it at surface level. But basically, your favorite quarterback growing up, my favorite quarterbacks growing up, it was about power and stature. It was how big and physical and powerful you were because you played in a scrum. You played in two-back sets. You played with an inline tight end. You played with a lot of reduced splits. Boxes were heavier, and you were throwing the ball 15, 20 yards down the field 15, 20 times a game. That was the position. Over the years, the position, the schemes, offense has changed. There's been more Saturday influence on Sunday football. Now the game's become boundary to boundary. It's become wider splits. It's become more spread out. It's become the ball of the hand faster. It's become more about decision-making pre-snap and right as the ball is snapped than deep into the snap. As that's happened, power and stature needs decrease and twitch and precision traits increase. So that is why a 5'10" and a half-ish quarterback that has unique twitch, who has unique processing skills, can check the box, because now evaluators finally, and we've been saying this for 6, 7, 8 years, are finally starting to say, wow, the game's changed. Maybe how we look at quarterback evaluation should change as well.
So if Keim would call you up, or Bidwell, or even Kingsbury calls you up and say, what should we do? What would you do if you are number one overall right now, like Arizona is going to be? Would you take Murray and send Rosen elsewhere, or would you do something else, since you obviously talked about the pass protection problems and that gives credence to so many holes that Arizona needs to fill? What would you, Trent Dilfer, do?
I would take them. I think you don't have something like this fall in your lap very often. If you're Cliff, you kind of realize that. You're sitting in your office at 1 o'clock in the morning when everybody's gone home, and you're really being truthful with yourself, and you kind of know you're out over your skis a little bit in terms of offensive systems, but you do know you're kind of an innovator. You're one of the original behind-the-veil air raid guys. You also understand that there's more Saturday ball coming into Sunday than anybody else, but you need the guy that can kind of do that for you. And I think in the last 5 years, Kyler might be the only guy that can do that. He's he's slippery in the pocket. He has world-class twitch. He has incredible precision. He will single-handedly be Superman sometimes when everybody else is Clark Kent. And because of that reason, I don't see how you don't take him. And I think, Josh is going to have great trade value. He's very well received around the league. He's a pure passer. He fits other guys more than Kyler Murray does. It's not that one is better than the other. They just fit different systems, and Josh fits a lot of the systems in the NFL.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is as so many people are putting him in Jay Gruden's system in Washington, that's where his most likely spot can be. But then again, maybe the Giants do something. The Chargers are being mentioned. Even Patriots fans are hoping that they get him to be the guy after Brady. What do you think is the best fit for Josh Rosen, Trent?
Honestly, I think all those are pretty good fits. This is one of the few times where the narratives around this time of the year around a player are probably true. All of those are pretty good fits. I personally would like to see him in Washington. I think that with the circumstances they've had at quarterback, that makes a lot of sense. I think there's maybe a trade back there with Case Keenum. There's a lot of synergies in that deal. I think that's probably the most likely fit. I'm not behind the closed doors. I don't know what the trade conversations are like, and I have no idea what the established value for Josh is. But if you're the Washington Redskins and you're trying to compete in the division next year, then you need Josh Rosen.
Trent Dilfer, Super Bowl champion quarterback, head coach of the Elite 11 quarterback camp, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, I saw you told Breer at Sports Illustrated about Dwayne Haskins and called him Tom Brady-ish. Put a little bit more meat on that bone, Trent. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, and I also told Albert, please don't compare him to Tom Brady, but he has those types of qualities. If you go and just look at Tom's DNA, fierce competitor, obviously, perfectionist, works as hard as anybody at the craft of quarterbacking and has for years, has innate accuracy, has what I call a quick twitch mind, can process very, very quickly, both pre and post snap, has the ability to spit the ball all over the field, any type of throw. There's throw catalog is something that's not talked about enough. You got to have a lot of different throws. Your throw catalog has to be expansive if you're going to, fulfill the fullness of your offense. Dwayne has all those things. Dwayne, when we had him at 16 years old, acted as if he was 22 years old. He's mature beyond his years, especially in terms of his football IQ. Go talk to Ryan Day and Urban Meyer about what they're able to do with him protection-wise. Very few college teams put protections on the quarterbacks, and if they do, it's like a right-left or a one-guy read where he's handling the entire protection package at the line of scrimmage. It's why they're able to smoke your boys. It's the ability to do that, the ability to give a quarterback the keys to the car and make it his offense is something that's not talked about enough. And Dwayne has that ability at a young age. You can truly give him the keys to the car at a young age, and your offense will grow exponentially. It won't be waiting on the quarterback to figure it out. He'll be ahead of the offense. And when you have that and the ability to locate the ball wherever you want all over the field with a huge throw catalog, it makes up for his lack of twitch. It makes up for his lack of movement ability. It makes up for his lack of athleticism because he checks all those other boxes.
Would you counsel the Giants to take him at 6?
Yes, I think that's a logical fit. I've seen these mock drafts where he's slipping down to the Dolphins, and I don't think that's a terrible fit. That might be better for Dwayne. But I think if you're the Giants, and I'm an Eli tweener. I can see both sides of the argument. But I think he's a guy that's proven he can play in cold weather, proven he can beat the wind by how the rate for which his ball spins. That's always an issue when you play in New York. And I think he can handle the bigness of the Big Apple. And anytime a New York team is drafting a quarterback, that's the first thing you have to look at is, can this player handle the bigness of what he's about to get into? And I think my experience with Dwayne and the people he surrounds himself with, I would give a yes to that.
Well, that's my next question, Trent, was about Eli, because, again, I always defer to you on subjects like this, and Kurt Warner at work. When you see the game, you see differently. You see what could have been the throw, or what should have been the throw, or what should have been the throw had the protection held up. And you hear Dave Gettleman talk about how it's a fallacy that Eli's washed. How much viability does Eli have, or years left with the Giants, if they do not go Haskins 6?
I think he's a winning quarterback in the NFL. We could dive deeper into that, but I think he still is a winning quarterback. If you surround him with enough dudes, which they have, especially at the running back position, and you build the offense around his strength set, then I think he's still a winning quarterback in the NFL. I don't think you can ask him to do things that aren't in his DNA. I think the new system better fits him. I think that with the runner and the action game, he can still win a lot of games and carry a good deal of water. Stealing a term from Steve Young that I think is a brilliant way of talking about quarterbacks, which is how much water can you carry? I think he can carry still the majority of the water for that offense, given the supporting cast and given the type of system they'll most likely play with Saquon running the show. And certain quarterbacks, again, have certain DNAs. And you can go back. We've done statistical studies of this, and it shows up in stats, but also just a trained eye can see it. You can see when a quarterback is more comfortable in the action game opposed to the drop back game. You can see when a quarterback's more comfortable in the quick game opposed to the deeper drop game. And good coaches figure that out about their quarterbacks early on, and they build the bulk of the offense around it. Eli's always been a better extended drop guy. So an action guy, off play action, or a deeper drop guy where the play can develop and he can read boundary to boundary. The more of that they do, the better he'll be. The more you're asking to play with that, I'll use this term for the 400th time in this interview, the more twitch you ask him to play with, the more he's going to struggle. So, again, it comes down to fit and how the offense is built. But if you do all those things right, which I'm sure that's how the lens they're looking at it from, then you're looking at Eli going, yeah, this guy can win a lot of games for us.
A few more minutes left with Trent Dilfer, again, head coach, Elite 11, and Super Bowl champ in his day. Again, I know that you've said many times it's about fit, not just talent. All that said, once Haskins, and if we assume he's second off the board, along with Murray, who do you like from the rest of what could be a first-round graded quarterback in this draft, Trent?
My personal would be Drew Lock. I think he has the highest ceiling of the rest of the guys. I do see some stuff on film, some missed layups that you get concerned with because a guy with that type of talent shouldn't be missing layups. But he's a guy that has the high ceiling. He's a guy that developed properly, has been through adversity in college. This guy was a Power 5 recruit as a basketball player, so he's got some swag and some dude in him. He knows how to integrate into a locker room well. He dealt with a lot of different personalities at Missouri. He dealt with, the student protests on campus and that dynamic, a fired coach, a new system. So he's dealt with a lot of stuff. And go watch him, perform, throw a football, get him in a workout, and he's going to be pretty impressive. I've known him, again, like all of them, since they were 16 years old. He has what I call DQs, dude qualities. If you have dude qualities, it goes a long ways in a locker room. I do think he probably needs a year under his belt. To me, and again, I hate trying to predict what Bill Belichick will do because I think he's forgotten more football than all of us combined. But to me, that seems like the heir apparent to Tom Brady. Very similar in stature, very similar in arm strength, very similar in the type of game they play. I'm not saying he is Tom Brady, but he looks like that. And it seems that that's the system they're going to continue to run for years to come. You have Tom probably with a year, 2, maybe 3 left in him. This seems like the guy that you could take at the end of the first round that could be the heir apparent.
Last one for you, Trent. This year's draft class and quarterbacks, last year's, put them all together. Where does Tua rank next year for all that for you?
Number 1. He's the finest prospect I've ever seen in my life. I was with Aaron Rodgers when he was in college, threw with them in the offseason, not even close to Tua at that stage of their careers. Now Aaron progressed rapidly when he got into the NFL. I've never seen, besides Dan Marino and Aaron Rodgers to this day, throw a ball better than Tua.
Come on.
Checks all the other intangible boxes. He's got a thick body, thick joints. He needs to learn to play on time better. He does have the Superman complex where he thinks he can make a Superman play out of every play, kind of like Cam Newton. I think that can be trained out of him. I know we trained it out of him in one summer. But if I was an NFL GM or if I was a head coach in the NFL, I'd be begging on my knees for my management to draft Tua or find a way to draft him. I can't say enough things about. He's a one percenter. I'll just leave it at that. He's a one percenter human being, talent, leader. Anything you want to say, he's a one percenter.
So, like Mayfield, Darnold, anybody in this year's class, you didn't stutter. It's Tua in terms of a prospect, in terms of a draftable.
And I love these guys. I've been saying for 2 years, I think they're all ice cream. Ice cream's awesome in general.
Yes.
It's what flavor of ice cream you like the most. But Tua, to me, is like the ultimate ice cream on crack. Like it's the greatest thing you've ever tasted. Not that I've done crack, but I think he's everything you could ever want. And I know the last visual we all have of Tua is playing his worst game of his life. He'd be the first to tell you that. I wouldn't want to play against Tua this year.
Trent, you're the man. Always love chatting with you. At Dilfer's Dimes on Twitter, must follow. Trent.Dilfer on Instagram. You are the man. Let's chat again real soon. Best your fam.
Thanks, buddy. Miss you.
Same to you. That's Trent Dilfer.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.